Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle Herbalist, the podcast where holistic wellness meets everyday living. I'm your host, Dabney Vaccaro. I'm a registered dental hygienist, a clinical herbalist, and a certified health coach.
And I'm your co-host, Sabrina Cooper, a registered dental hygienist with a bachelor's in oral health promotion, a certified culinary nutritionist and herbalist, and a mindfulness and mindful eating coach. Together, we explore the intersection of holistic health, herbal wisdom, and joyful living. From plant-powered remedies to kitchen medicine, mindful moments, and conversations that feed the soul, we're here to help you feel vibrant, grounded, and inspired in your daily life. So steep a cup of something soothing, settle in, and let's grow well together one episode at a time, bringing you a healthy dose of happiness.
Hi, welcome back to the Lifestyle Herbalist. Sabrina and I are here today to talk to you about the ongoing information about nutrition and why one diet doesn't really work for everyone. So welcome back. In the last episode, we talked about how Western medicine moved away from food as a foundation of health and why nutrition was never really prioritized in medical training. Today, we're going to talk about something everyone has experienced, and that is even though you feel like you're doing everything right, you're still not feeling well. And if you've ever followed a diet that worked beautifully for someone, a friend, a colleague, even a spouse, but then it left you tired, bloated, and anxious, or even stuck, this episode is for you. Because the problem really isn't you failed at your diet, it's just that your diet failed you. The problem really is that there isn't really a one diet that fits everyone. How you doing, Sabrina?
Good. I like this topic. It's a great one.
Yeah, and when I was going through the health coaching classes and learning all there is, I was told there were over 100 dietary theories, and everyone touts their diet is the end all be all. Well, why are there over 100? Why isn't there just one if it works?
It's true.
But
It's
do
so
we
true.
really, we don't even think about it. We're like, oh, we should be doing keto or ketos. We should be doing paleo. Oh, we should do intermittent fasting. And I don't know, I've tried lots of them. And sometimes most of the time, I should say, I don't feel great with any really particular diet.
No, I think, we've had this conversation, between us two over and over again. I think about things that we eat, consume, and like you said, the different diets out there and how, especially at this time of the year, in the new year or end of year, they push these new ideas and philosophies and join now, and in 8 weeks you'll feel better and all these different things where sometimes or many times people will start these fad diets or these ways of eating that they think are going to change their whole nutritional way and health. Um, but in fact, sometimes it makes them feel worse, or it doesn't work with certain medications they're on, or it doesn't work with their makeup, or et cetera, or they have to adjust because they do have dietary needs or restrictions. And so sometimes many times I would have to say these diets are not a one size fits all. And I think we need to have more awareness about this. And sometimes we just get so tunnel vision that we're like, oh, this sounds new and exciting. Let's just try it. And we forget to look at the greater picture of everything.
Oh, so true. I mean, in the 70s, we were made to be afraid of fat, right? Everything was fat free, fat free. And then it was like, oh no, it's carbs, stay away from carbs. And then we were doing the vegan diet, the paleo,
It was high fat,
now there's intermittent fasting, you know, it keeps changing.
caveman
And
diet,
which one, the
the
caveman?
caveman diet. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it keeps changing, and if you get stuck on Reels or TikTok, there's all kinds of experts out there that try to tell you that this is what you should be doing. And they're pretty convincing. I have to say, they are pretty convincing.
And then
Right.
excuse me, do you get the ones where you have to do, I've looked into some just for fun and you got to do a survey and like click, like you have to click this and your date and your, your age and your birth date and all these different things. Like, are you this? Are you that? Are you this? Are you that? And then finally get to the end, you have to enter your email. And if you want to know the information, then they make you pay for it. And so it's X amount of dollars per week or per month. And then they send you a guide of how you will feel better and all this stuff and discounts on their product that is the only product that will help you lose weight or make you feel better. So
Of course.
it's always like that. And there's lots of products out there that are either equally the same or trying to do the same thing. And if we all had this magic bullet and this magic pill, I think we would all be very all one cardboard cutout. I don't know if do you remember Dabney when you were a child? I used to have these paper cutouts. It was like a little, like a woman, and then you just put the dresses on them
Well,
and
the
you
paper dolls.
paper
Yes.
dolls.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like that's
absolutely.
how we would be. It would be we'd all
Yeah.
look like paper dolls, all the same, and we would just all have these like certain type of clothes and certain fit, and we'd all look the same, and we'd go through life like robots almost. So that's what makes us all individuals is the who we are, our makeup, our body types, and everything. And so that's what we should be paying more attention to than these diets that are being offered to us.
Yeah, because each one offers a healing, it offers answers, it offers, it'll remove your bloating, your brain fog. And here's the truth, like all diets work, at least initially, because our body tends to want to stay in homeostasis. So it gets used to our normal, whatever is normal for us. And so when we introduce a new diet plan, something different, it kind of changes our body response to what we're doing. And almost all diets plans take out processed food, they take out the sugar, and they take out some of those inflammatory ingredients anyway, that already starts to make you feel better. Like, hey, I like this diet. I'm feeling pretty good. But then after several weeks, our body becomes that homeostasis again. And that's when people say, I feel like this isn't working anymore. So then they just get frustrated. But again, like you said, Sabrina, listening to your body, what your body is telling you. And all of them, like I said, work initially. But at the end of the day, is how are you feeling? How are you sleeping? And making good choices around our plate is really the most important thing. Call it a diet, call it a lifestyle, but just eating real food and eating real home cooked food, not store-bought food that you come home and cook. Yeah, because sometimes I just want to make sure that's clear. So when I say home cooked food, I don't mean you went to the grocery store and bought frozen food and came home and warmed it up. I'm talking cutting up your onion, your garlic, your celery, your carrots, and what it is you're making, that you're actually making it and creating it in your kitchen rather than it was created in a factory somewhere.
So true. I mean, and like you said, with these lifestyle changes that people make when they start following a certain health style or regime of eating, of course, like you said, you're going to feel better because it's probably not the way you have been eating either. So you probably are incorporating more water intake too because you're starting to feel healthier. It tells you to drink your 8 water. So now you've got you went out and bought your big pretty jug so that you're measuring how much water you got and you're downing it every day and it's like all exciting. And then slowly, you'll notice that you're like, oh, my water bottle has been sitting there. I filled it up, and that pretty water bottle is right there staring at me, but I haven't picked it up all day. For whatever reason, you just kind of fall off. And maybe it's just because it wasn't for you. So you have to find those things that will work for you long term because it's not just a cut everything out, done, and then it's kind of a recipe for disaster. It's incorporating things slowly. And like I said before, listening to anything else that's going on in your body. Like, I mean, if you're lactose intolerant, and you go on a diet where cheese is, of high fat, or they ask you to eat some sort of dairy like Greek yogurt, for example, now all of a sudden you're feeling bloated and feeling not good about it, but you're thinking, oh, it's part of the diet. I got to follow this diet to a T. Well, that's not serving you either, right? So
Absolutely.
these are the things that we need to kind of pay attention to as well, and the responses that certain foods will have on you if you incorporate them too quickly or not, follow what you're needing in your body or not needing in your body.
Yeah. And many people think that the reason the diet isn't working is because they're not disciplined enough. Maybe they think they're not doing it correctly or that they're not trying hard enough and that somehow their body's broken and this is just the way it is. And so we can get down this vortex of really self-sabotage. But really, diets and our food in general, call it a diet or not, but the food on your plate, it responds to our body's stress. It responds to how our blood sugar uses, food. It responds to how our minerals are. If we have too many minerals or not enough minerals, our food interacts with all of that. And even our hormones. Unfortunately, women as both as perimenopausal and menopausal or postmenopausal, uh, there's there has to been more of a tendency to gain weight during those periods of time. And I've heard people say, and this isn't bashing anyone in particular, but typically men would say, well, if you don't eat that, how can you gain weight? So if you quit eating, if it's calories out, calories in, calories out, it doesn't work that way with women's hormones, especially if you have a lot of stress. And many times, many women are actually under eating. They're not actually eating enough of food. And
Exactly.
so that has a cycle with our hormones as well. And it actually causes your body to become more stressed. So then you're going to create more cortisol and you're going to actually have a bigger belly because of the cortisol, not because of the food. So there is a lot of science to know with this. It's not just calories in, calories out. That is just a very old way of thinking about food.
So true. It's like the protein. Everybody's like, if you eat, you have to eat high protein in order to build muscle. You got to do this, you got to do that. But if you're not burning that amount of calories or doing that physical activity, as in those people who are working out in that specific way to have a certain body type, let's say, right? And you're following
Mhm.
this diet and thinking, well, if I just eat this way, I'm going to look better. Well, that's not the case because you have to have a certain exercise regime, a physical activity in order to take in those calories. So just like you said, you're not taking in enough calories, you might be taking too many calories in different ways that don't work because you're not burning any calories, right? So if you're very sedentary and you're eating this high protein diet, then it might lead to weight gain because you're taking in too much of things that you don't need.
Right, exactly. And physical exercise is a lot to do with it, especially for women. Weight, even just your own body weight resistance is very important for our bones and our muscles, especially as we get older. Um,
And
but
I
the
think,
body,
oh, sorry.
yeah,
I was
I was
just
gonna
going to
say,
say
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say on the talk of physical activity too.
Mhm.
I said like sometimes we get mistaken that if we do like a 30-minute to 40-minute workout, yes, we're doing exercise and that's amazing. I'm not dissing. It's important to get that in. At least you're doing something. But don't forget that you're not doing the amount of exercise that you need to take in that extra calories. You know what I mean? So you just have to pay attention to that as well because I think people go, well, I worked out today. That means I can have this extra whatever. And not really, you know?
Right. You'll
It just
never outrun a poor diet, for
you
sure.
can't. You're not a marathon runner that needs to take in that extra amount of calories, is what I'm trying to say. So even if you go for a walk, yes, you may need a little bit of extra, but not like a big supplement of extra calories intake if you're wondering why you're not losing weight or maybe you're gaining weight. So that's kind of the key to certain things as well when you're thinking of diets and eating well. And I think our point is that you have to pay attention to your physical activity, your hormones, your environmental influences, your genetics, all these things before you dive into something new and think it's going to fix every other problem that you had, like, your weight or whatever you're trying to aim to do, right?
So something funny I saw today was a cartoon. It was a very obese man sitting on the table being examined by his physician. And the patient says, obesity runs in my family. And the doctor says, you have obesity in your family because none of you run. I thought that was cute. But our body doesn't necessarily respond to just food. It's the constituency in our food. And if we don't have good digestion and if we don't have good gut microbiome, then our food isn't getting distributed in our body and
Or
broken down the way it should. Our hormonal status, our mineral reserves, the stresses of our life, even sleep has a big deal with our health, our vitality, our nutrition. If we eat huge meals and then go to bed, we're not going to sleep well. Then all that digestion is really slow. Our body's having to work so hard during the night when it needs to be doing other things like removing toxins. And our brain, is under recovery of putting our memory in stores. We don't always do the right things, with our consumption of our food. But
so
even past diet histories, like people, they say the yo-yo diets, people go on a diet, then they're off, they're on and they're off, and their weight fluctuates all the time. And that's not healthy at all.
no, it's not. I think, you can kind of give or take sometimes, like maybe a few pounds here, a few pounds there, but you're not like a drastic when you
Oh,
say
sure.
like
Oh, yeah,
yo-yo,
yeah.
you're going from one extreme to another. Um, because people might think, it's just a few calories here and there, but that's just normal because if you weigh yourself in the morning and weigh yourself in the evening, you're probably going to see a different
Oh,
number
sure.
scale
Yeah.
because that's
Which,
just
yeah, which is
what
why I always weigh myself in the morning because I know I'm more dehydrated.
that's what they say.
I'm
Pick
I'm
one
really
time.
hydrated because I've been drinking water and tea all day, so I'm like full of fluid. So I never weigh
Never
myself
weigh
at night.
yourself
It's
at
always
night.
in the morning.
I think morning is actually more real. I think that's what they say. Like it's kind of a
I'm going
more
to believe it. I'm choosing to believe it.
they say. But that's the thing. So, you can't just trust the scale either. You have to feel good
Oh,
too. I always say
right.
it's clothing too. Like
Oh, sure.
feel with your clothes. If you feel like that favorite pair of pants all of a sudden is feeling snug, maybe it's because you just put them in the wash and they're pretty clean because that can happen and then they stretch out a bit. But if they're really feeling really snug, then maybe it is that you might want to check what you're consuming, be a little more mindful, do some investigating work of why you're feeling this way. Is it lack of exercise? Have you been more sedentary? If your clothes are really loose on you, is it because you've been stressed out? Have you not been eating properly? Have you been ill? You just take into consideration these few, like some of the things, and do your homework, right? And
Yeah.
investigate.
And hormones for women, like I said, hormones, the physiology of women is more cyclic,
Cyclic.
yeah, it's more of a cycle, and it's not so much across the board and linear. Like men, and that's why most studies have been done on men because they don't have all the hormone shifts and the monthly ebb and flows that women do. So, hormones respond rapidly to calorie restriction, blood sugar swings, fasting, over-exercising, and chronic stress. And, like I said, many women unknowingly are actually undereating while being told they're doing something healthy. So we need to pay attention to our own body and understand where are the minerals. Like I did a hair tissue mineral analysis on myself and I realized, or I found out, actually, I worked with a practitioner. She told me that I was getting close to something called a calcium shell, which means my calcium level was really high. It was in my hair. It wasn't getting really distributed into my cells and into my bones because my minerals aren't right. So now I'm doing some things differently to get my minerals right so that I can use the minerals that I get in my food, I can use it in my body rather than being excreted outside of my body. So, minerals have a whole lot to do with our hormones as well. And things just change. We just don't stay the same.
Don't stay the same at all. And it's like, and even when you're in perimenopause and menopause, we still have like somewhat a feeling of a cycle. So like there are the whole, that you're going through, and at certain times you might even find yourself craving like the sweets or craving sugar or salts at a different times because it's part of the whole like the cycle, right? But we're not in the cycle, but you're still
Mhm.
experiencing those those symptoms, right? The luteal phase and all that kind of thing as it's going through. And then you really pay attention. You're like, oh, the moon cycle really is actually a true thing. And you're like, I actually am feeling the way I feel because of, or craving the things I have and feeling bloated or feeling not myself because of
Mm.
the things in your cycle, as even though we don't have per se a cycle, right? So there's so many things that we just need to consider, not only as women, but like when it comes to eating and hormones definitely plays a huge role, especially at a certain age.
Yeah. And when food isn't working well for us, whether we're under eating or the food isn't doing well for us, I mean, we will experience things like fatigue, anxiety, hair loss, maybe a missed cycle, insomnia, and just weight that doesn't bulge. I know for me that I am postmenopausal, but I have gained a little bit of weight when I went to on vacation over the summer, and I have just had a really hard time losing it. And I've never really had that trouble before. But my hormones have shifted. I found out that I have some mineral imbalances, and so I'm working to get those better. But actually, and I tried the intermittent fasting, and I think I actually gained weight with intermittent fasting because I am now having 3 good meals a day and I actually feel better and my weight is coming down.
And
So
that's a
I
like
think I was under eating
or
and it
eating.
threw my hormones off.
And that's the thing, even for me, intermittent fasting doesn't work with thyroid.
Yeah.
It's very hard because it's very hard on my body. And same thing, I was finding, not that I'm like trying to, like, it's not a thing about gaining weight, but it's just not feeling in my own body.
Hmm.
And I felt that it just isn't for me. I can, and I feel what I tell people is normally you do a little bit of intermittent fasting if you pay attention. If you eat at 7 o'clock by 7 o'clock at night, have your dinner and don't eat anything until you go to wake up in the morning at 7 in the morning. You've already fasted 12
It's
hours.
12 hours, right? And I
Oh, I
typically in
mean,
12 hours,
that's, and
yes.
if you go work out, like I go work out by the time I get home and have breakfast, like it's 9 o'clock, let's say, or not 8:30, let's say. So I've fasted for my duration of my time. So, it's not that I do it on purpose. And then that's when I feel good. But if I go longer than that, it doesn't work for me. So
Hmm.
again, it's not that I try to fast. That's just my lifestyle. People laugh. I like to eat between, sometimes I eat at 3:30 a big meal. And then at night I'll have like a little kiwi or some fruit or like not fruit, but like, something that's like a small snack, maybe a couple almonds or something like that. And I go to bed. I don't have something that my body's working really hard before bed. Sometimes I eat like the latest will be 5 o'clock because my lifestyle allows for that. I can
Yeah.
do that. And I've always been like that. My family has always been like that. My parents, my dad finished work early. My mom was home, and Mexican style was have a big dinner at 3 o'clock-ish. So that's, I think, what my body has always been used to. So now when I eat really late, like typical, like say, North American way, I don't
Yeah.
feel great at all. I can't sleep. I'm like irritable. It's terrible. I just cannot. Even if I go out for dinner with friends, I'll have like a salad and they laugh. And I'm like, because I've already eaten and then I just have something light after or some, because I
Well,
can't.
yeah. And honoring your body is important because it helps you feel your best.
Yeah. And then there's like, you have to also take into consider all your allergies and things like that. And don't do something just because and reintroduce something to yourself if it's hasn't been working for you. I can't reiterate that enough. Just be mindful, pay attention, like if you don't like something, don't force yourself to do it because it's the new craze,
Right.
right? Because that can cause a lot of problems as well and you just won't feel good. But I'm with you with the whole imbalance, and we go through all these shifts all the time. And I just think you have to find what works for you. And I always feel the cleaner I eat, the better I feel. And that means eliminating not or like reducing certain things, then that's the way it is, less sugar, of course. Less gluten for me is a big one because of the
Yeah.
thyroid and autoimmune.
And even dairy for some
Lactose,
folks.
dairy is
Hmm.
not great. I mean, I'm not eliminating it because sometimes I say, is it better for me to eat something, some sort of processed non-dairy? I mean, the cashew things are great, but there's some things out there that I'm just like, I don't know what it is. Why am I putting it in my food? I'd rather just either not eat it or, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'll eat, whatever. So I just feel like you just have to adapt the way and feel good for things and don't do other things. If you fall off, and another thing is if you fall off and you try something and it didn't work for you, don't feel bad about it. You tried it and it didn't work. So go, maybe you take something from that made you feel good and incorporate it into your life. That was a learning, that was a win. So now you might have incorporated more water and now you're like, okay, I love water. Great. That was something you didn't do before. So it wasn't a complete failure to try it, right? And that's, I
Right.
guess.
You just
Oh,
crowd out things that don't do well by crowding in things that you can do. And it's just
exactly.
small steps. Because at the end
Exactly.
of the day, our food, it signals, it's talking. So when we eat something, that is our medicine for our body. And it's signaling our body systems. It talks to our hormones, it talks to our blood sugar, it talks to our immune system, our nervous system. It talks to our body. So whatever it is we're eating, it directly affects the health of our body. And I have to remind myself too at times, like I'm choosing to either feed health or feed disease, but I get
Exactly.
to choose.
Yep.
I get to choose.
And I think we also within this whole thing of choosing your health foods or your ways of eating. It's always about, reading your labels. If something says it's healthy, is it too good to be true? Is it misleading? Listening to your portion controls, like, even though it says it's, calorie healthy, is it really healthy? Like, what way is it healthy? Maybe it's nuts, but, nuts are very high calorie. So maybe you have to be careful of your intake, because they get addictive, right? It's a type of nut. Like some people watch out for those highly processed nuts or the ones that have the oils and all that
Mm.
salt on them. The perceptions of superfoods, we use that word really lightly, right? So if something seems too good to be true, maybe it is. Because you want to have the healthy foods, but make sure they really truly are healthy foods. And I always in my programs and my culinary programs, I would always map out the grocery store. Your best ways to stay healthy are do the outer limits of the grocery store and then inside just minimal, whatever it may be for some of those like, rice or, brown
Fried
rice
beans,
kind of thing,
lentils.
right? Lentils might be in the middle sections, but for
Yeah.
the most part, you're going to be focusing on the outer
Outer outer
outer
edges for
edges
sure.
of the grocery
Mhm.
store, but with the exception of the prepackaged foods like spring rolls and all that kind of fun
Oh,
dumplings, all
sure.
that kind of, you know what I mean? So just I'm saying like the whole food type things, right? But
Mhm.
mostly that's where you would find it. And even like if you want cheese to incorporate some like better cheese, go get a nice like brie or something a little different, like a blue cheese or something like that, as opposed to like the processed craft
Cheddar.
or cheddar.
Macaroni and cheese, please.
Exactly. Like, or make your own macaroni and cheese with some really good cheese. Maybe use ricotta or something like that, right? Just because that's going to make it a little more healthy than what you get out of the box with the process, or even a Velveeta or something. Not to
Oh,
names under the
that's
table,
not
but
even food.
I
That's just
just
a
am saying,
that's a product.
we can be like, oh yeah, I'm eating healthy.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
not so much. So
Everybody's health scale looks a little bit different. How far did your pendulum swing?
exactly.
As long as it's swinging toward the good, we'll take what we can get, right?
We'll always talk about this until we're blue in the face, and that's why we talk because we really are passionate about it, Abby and I, about what healthy really means. And I'm sure you'll hear us talk about it in future podcasts again and again. Um, but healthy foods don't have to be expensive. You can get some, flash frozen vegetables and things like that. Like you just have to be mindful of what it is. Um, because in today's day and age, things are expensive, but you don't have to forego good food if you're on a budget. I was just talking to someone today and I was saying, check the boo-boo aisle of the vegetables because really,
Oh,
if you're using bananas for a smoothie and they're a little ripe, well, that's okay. I mean, we don't really want really ripe bananas, but you can use them to make a banana bread. You can use them to put in your smoothie. Maybe there are some, potatoes that are a bit root. Okay, you can cut that off and you can make like your potato, whatever it has to be, right? So just check and see what it is that you're actually using your vegetables for.
Hmm.
um,
Great advice.
and your healthy items, because sometimes we don't need the pretty fruits to make our dishes.
Right.
So that's just
So,
my, I mean, I kind of went off a little bit on what we were talking about, but I just feel like in order to stay on track with, healthy eating and diets and things that we're talking about, it doesn't have to be expensive. So you don't have to like feel like, oh my gosh, I have to invest in a diet in order to lose weight. It's more about investing in your health through food.
really, and just paying attention. So, some questions to ask yourself is, are you digesting your food well?
Mhm.
Well, how would you know? Well, if food doesn't make you feel well in about 30 minutes, there's probably something going on in that gut microbiome, or there's something that's not feeling well with the food that you ate. Also, you can tell how well you're digesting your food is when you eliminate it. So if you're eliminating food and you're still recognizing some of the food, well, then there's definitely something wrong with the gut microbiome or the hydrochloric acid that you're not even like processing your food. So that brings us to the next question is, do you have enough stomach acid to break down your food? Are you absorbing your minerals? And is your blood sugar stable between meals? Are you crashing? Are you up and down? And if that's the case, then there's probably something that you have not enough of, probably fat or a protein. You maybe have too many carbs, and that's going to mess up with your blood sugar. And what about your nervous system? How does it deal with digestion? What is the state? Do you get nervous energy? Do you feel tired? Like, how is your nervous system when you're eating? So rather than thinking about all the rules of engagement with certain diet plans, think a bit of just optimizing what your body needs. Are you getting enough food, minerals, protein, rest? Are you being consistent? Um, so we're not trying to overwhelm you by any means, but just pay attention to your body. It's your body talking to you, and your body is your best friend. It's trying to tell you what it wants and what it needs. Just eat enough food before trying to eat perfectly. Eat whole foods. Build your meals instead of just trying to eliminate things. Notice patterns instead of chasing plans, and prioritize nourishment over restriction.
Good
So,
advice. Good advice. And I'll let you in on a little thing. I was really worried. We're doing a renovation. And so I soon will be without an oven and a small kitchen space, which I'm
uh-huh.
not used to. And so now we have like an air fryer, which is like,
I love
fine,
my air
which
fryer.
is great. I have a blender and, I don't love, I have a microwave, which was my mother-in-law's, but I probably will barely ever use it because I have my air fryer. But I, in the last little bit, have been like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? But I have a little, oh, and I have a little element, like a gas element that I can boil things on. And so it's been a test. But you know what? I said to my husband, I'm like, I am going to make it my thing that I'm going to document all the foods I eat and how you can still
Mm,
be healthy in a minimal space with minimal availability of the objects and things that you have, like your electric oven and all that kind of stuff, fancy ovens and things like that,
that's a
and
great
foods
idea,
that you can
Sabrina.
make on either in a small space and with
Yeah.
limited resources because you can still be healthy. Like I made salmon the other day. I roasted off like some beets and carrots and things in the air fryer. We have a fridge still, so that's okay. And I made a little salad. And so there's things and we have to cook ahead. I made a nice little soup. So, there's things that you just have to think ahead and plan ahead, like you said. And that's what triggered that thought to me is that anything is possible if you actually plan it out and take the time. And when you plan and take the time, you're more apt to eating healthy, which is going to keep you on track and feeling good. And you won't have those crashes and those yucky feelings of that fluffiness on you or whatever it is, or you're reaching your goal, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. You can do it as a PDF and a download or something for people to use because a lot of times people just they can't think of things to do unless they have like all of their kitchen or even just yeah, some people just really have trouble just getting to
Think
the
of an
first
idea.
base of getting to a place where they feel comfortable in the kitchen. So making it simple with less tools might be a good segue for some of our listeners to maybe start cooking at home rather than eating out.
So that may be a segment.
Hmm.
As soon as I
Yeah.
can compile a
Yeah.
bunch of things, I will make it a podcast. But for now, I'm just on the start. So I'll let you know.
Yeah. So just keep in mind that we're not saying that because there is no universal way to eat, but there is a way to listen. Nutrition is not about control, but it's about the communication between your food and your body. So until next time, remember that your body is not failing you. It's responding intelligently to its environment, and nourishment is always the best place to start.